Next, 3.3 billion people live in countries where they pay more on debt interest than on health or education. A UN event is taking place in Spain, seeking to redress that imbalance. The Conference on Financing for Development does exactly what it says. And after this report, we'll be talking to one of the people who decides how the cash is spent and where it goes. First, this from Vedika Pahel.
Posing for a family photo, scores of world leaders from around the globe kicked off the once-in-a-decade United Nations conference, aimed at drumming up trillions of dollars to close the gap between rich and poor nations. But this year, the most significant player is missing. The US, formerly the largest donor, snubbed the event, following Donald Trump's decision to slash foreign aid. Now, raising money is a challenge that the Secretary-General recognises.
We live in a world where trust is crumbling and multilateralism is under strain. A world with a slowing economy, growing trade tensions and decimated aid budgets. Financing is the engine of development, and right now, that engine is choking.
The UN believes two-thirds of its 2030 Sustainable Development Goals are lagging, and a whopping $4 trillion is needed to achieve them. Trump's gutting of the US Development Agency, USAID, in January means $40 billion less towards the world's poorest nations, which the World Bank says is hitting sub-Saharan Africa the hardest, particularly in Sudan, where funding shortages threaten relief for millions. It also means children are going unvaccinated, girls are abandoning education, and families facing hunger. The French president called for things to change.
It is essential to develop value chains and create economic wealth in the poorest countries, developing countries, and middle-income countries. And wherever we can, this is the best policy for combating inequality.
But despite Macron's words, France, as well as Germany and the UK, are countries also making cuts to foreign aid, choosing to prioritise defence spending amidst high geopolitical tensions and strain on their own national budgets.
Vedika Pahel, Emmanuel Macron there. The fourth International Conference on Financing and Development then taking place in Seville in Spain from now until Thursday. Joining us now is Rodrigo Salvado. Rodrigo is Director General of the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, or AIIB, a multilateral development bank and international institution that aims to improve economic and social outcomes. Rodrigo, thank you very much for being with us. I hope you're coping with the 40-degree heat in Seville. It's affecting all of us across Europe, and you're smiling, so that's a very good sign. Outcomes, that's the word that sticks out for me. It's not just about results or the bottom line, it's about outcomes. Tell us what you mean by that.
Well, what we mean, thank you, Mark, for having me today. What we mean is, again, as you were saying before, this is a conference that is happening every 10 years when everyone, right, like private sector, philanthropies, public sector institutions are coming to actually do that. Outcomes mean that actually people have better lives, right? That means better education, that means better access to basic services, that means the opportunity to actually get a better job. That's what it means. Success here is going to be measured by whether after this conference we have a set of solutions that actually mean that people are going to improve their lives. And this has to happen in developing countries as more than ever, right? You were saying before, multilateralism is really, and right now is under threat, right? There's a lot of geopolitical consideration happening. So we are here to actually come together and demonstrate that by actually coming together with solutions, we can be pulling more our weight and be more than the sum of our parts.
It's setting out to help people. This sounds fantastic, Rodrigo. Tell us about the projects that you've financed. I know of one in Gujarat and one in Abidjan, but tell us about those.
Well, those are projects, again, and these are things that actually improve people's lives. When we are talking about like $200 million that the bank invests in Cote d'Ivoire to connect people to markets, right? Rural people and rural population that they need to take their products to the market. That makes like actually improve their lives by going to the market, getting their products actually sold. They are also connecting to the ports so can actually have exports not only to Asia but to other parts, to Europe, etc., etc. That things actually are, again, it's not only about infrastructure, it's actually about economic opportunity. The other things that we do is that we improve people's health, right? We partner with the World Bank, with the Asian Development Bank, and the Pandemic Fund to have a $400 million a project in Indonesia, for example, to actually have like One Health, which is bringing animal health and human health together in order to prevent effects for a new pandemic. These things actually matter, right? And water and sanitation, for example, Mark, water and sanitation is amazing. The amount of people that doesn't live with water and access to clean water in Africa. I tell you another thing, like in early this year, we have like launched an initiative together with the African Development Bank and the World Bank called N300. N300 means about bringing electricity to 300 million people in Africa. You will say that even if we actually successful in getting the 300 million, we still have another 300 million to go, because today, right now, as you and me speak, there are 600 million in Africa that don't have access to electricity. And we all know that without access to electricity, there are many things that don't happen. So these are the things that matter. And there's no way we are going to do this alone. Even with the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, we are very, like a large bank, we have $100 billion in our capital. I can assure you that's a drop in the ocean compared to what we need to do.
Indeed, as you say, much needs to be done, but much has been done, and one needs to acknowledge that as well. I'm wondering, Rodrigo, how do you choose the projects? Is there a political angle there? Is there pressure from governments, or do you really hold yourself away from that?
We are an apolitical institution, Mark. We are a client-driven institution. And this conference, in fact, is about that. It's about putting countries in the driver's seat. That was all something that came out in Addis 10 years ago, but really it was not happening. So this is actually doing that. We always said that what are the priorities of the AIIB? The priorities of the AIIB within infrastructure are the priorities of our clients. We don't go to tell clients what to do. Well, we are helping to think through that. But the countries are very well known. They really are clear on what they need and what they want and their priorities. So our work is really supporting them. So when we talk about, like, for example, the African Development Bank, in Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, in some countries that actually is digital infrastructure. In some countries that is actually building airports and ports. In some countries that actually is building healthcare infrastructure. So we don't go and impose that. And to your question, no, we don't actually fall to the pressure. We are a bank that has 110 members, Mark, and all our projects are actually chosen and vetted and approved by all those members together. So you can imagine that, in that case, it's a really multilateral setup, right, where only the best projects actually go to do. But again, going back to this is we are here to support countries do what they want to do, obviously with the highest standards, right? Because one of the things of multilateral banks like the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank is actually hold to our standards. Standards of procurement, standards of quality. If you want to build a road, we want that road to actually stay. You were saying about heat. Well, we need to actually have infrastructure that is climate resilient. We need to have infrastructure that hold to the threats of climate. So all those things we do. But again, when it comes to priorities, we know that governments in many countries, they know what to do, and we are there to support them.
Rodrigo, is the fact that the US has pulled out of this structure, is that going to make it less efficient? Are you going to be able are you going to be prevented from reaching the people you need to reach, you want to reach? Is the absence of the US going to be a big problem?
Look, Mark, every country has the right to join or not these things, right? What we can tell you, and I can tell you what I have seen here, is a lot of people coming together, a lot of countries coming together and showing up for multilateralism. And I'm going to tell you that that's not an issue in terms of, like, yes, obviously there is a lot of the US money that is very relevant, but we are all doing our best to actually make sure that we are making up for that. How you do that? Stretching every single dollar that we have. This is the job of our multilateral development banks. The Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, we stretch every dollar that we get in order to actually do ourselves. So if you ask me today, yes, that's an issue, but I'm really optimistic that we can actually come out of this even stronger. And again, this in many ways is pushing us further to think how to stretch every single dollar. Again, they point to say we need to do more with less. No matter what happens, no matter whether, the largest donor or the other largest donors are here with us. We need to keep thinking about that no matter what. And I can tell you, Mark, this is why we are all together here in Sevilla.
Rodrigo Salvado, thank you very much indeed for showing your clear passion for these projects and obviously the way this is affecting people all over the world. Thank you so much indeed. Stay safe, keep hydrated in that 40-degree heat in Sevilla. We want you to be able to perform sparkling on stage there at the 4th International Conference on Financing and Development taking place in Sevilla in Spain, as Rodrigo was saying. That's Rodrigo Salvado, who is Director General of the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank. great projects changing people's lives. Thank you, Rodrigo, for telling us all about it.